StraighTAllDay.com.
You learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we're going to talk Parkinson's law and how it applies to business. I'll tell you what that law is, and of course, we will get into exactly what I said the title is in a moment. Before we get started, though, let me remind everybody that I send out a daily motivation text free of charge every single morning to everybody in my text community. This message is guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. You want to receive this message. So here's all you got to do to get it. Text me at my number, 305-384-6894. And every day when that message goes out, you, as a member of my text community, shall receive this message, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. Just text me right now. That number is listed down below in the show note and linked. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is the place where I do all my coaching. That's the place where you get access to all my courses like Bulletproof Mindset, 30 Days of Discipline, Sell Yourself, and more. All you have to do to get access to that is go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. The link is down below in the description to this video. Again, workonyourgameuniversity.com. Right next to the number where you can text me is the link to Work on Your Game University. So just scroll down, look in the description on this video or audio, wherever you're listening to this or watching it, and you'll see all that information. Now let's get into the topic, Parkinson's law in business. First of all, let's get clear on exactly what Parkinson's law is. I've talked about this in the past, but maybe you forgot. Maybe this is your first time listening to me. Maybe I talked about it in an episode that you didn't listen to. So let me tell you what Parkinson's law is. Parkinson's law is defined as the notion that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. That's it. Shall I say it again? Just make sure you got it. Parkinson's law states work expands to fill the time available for its completion. What that means is when we give ourselves a lot of time to get something done, usually we take a lot of time. However, if we give ourselves less time to get things done, we get things done in less time. In other words, human beings are as lazy as we allow ourselves to be. I'll just put that in layman's terms. All right, did everybody catch that? As lazy as you allow yourself to be, you will be. Give yourself an hour to get something done. You'll take an hour. You give yourself 30 minutes. Miraculously, you get things done in 30 minutes. All right, that's what Parkinson's law states in common everyday language. Being that time is one of our 5 forms of investment, along with money, attention, energy, and focus. I talked about that in episode 609. And that time is more valuable than all of those other 4 traits cumulatively. It is very important that we focus on how to make the most of our time. You need to make the most of your time. More importantly, you need to make the most of your money, your attention, your energy, and your focus. Not that those things don't matter, but time is the most important because time is the only one that's not renewable. You can't get more of it. You can get more money. You can get more energy. You can get more attention. You can get more focus. You cannot get more time. So today we're going to discuss this from the angle of Parkinson's law. Point number 1. Today's topic, once again, let's talk about time. This is a simple but not always easy concept. See, the more time you give yourself to get something done, the more time you will take to get it done. This is really about self-accountability and holding yourself to standards of how you use your time. There's a great book called The No BS Time Management. It's a longer title that he used in all his titles, but this author by the name of Dan Kennedy. The book is called, again, No BS Time Management. It might be called Ruthless Time Management, but if you just look up No BS and type in time management and type in this guy's name, Dan Kennedy, you will see the book. It's easy to find. And I would suggest you read this book because in this book, Dan Kennedy lays out a bunch of his own personal principles and strategies for how he uses time. And it's really about time control, just like my 25 hours course, which you can get access to as a member of Work on Your Game University. It's not really about time management because you only got 24 hours in a day. So you don't really manage time. There's nothing you can do to it. It's just how are you using your time? That's really what it's about. And the more you hold yourself to standards and principles and have rules for yourself about how you use time, the more you will be able to get with the time that you have. Because again, we all got the same amount of time. So understand that this is where self-accountability comes in. It's how professional of a standard are you willing and able to hold yourself to? And understand that your standards that you set for yourself here, they don't have to be super high standards. You don't have to try to be this Superman or Superwoman when it comes to your time standards. You just need to have standards. See, many of you, the challenge is not that standards can be too high or too daunting for you. The challenge is that you don't have any. All right, what are your standards? Do you have standards for yourself when it comes to your physical fitness, when it comes to your finances, when it comes to the way you run your business, when it comes to the way you operate, when it comes to the way you respond to people, when it comes to the way you communicate, when it comes to the way you present yourself? Do you have standards? Many of you just don't have any standards. So if you just had some any standard, doesn't even matter what it is, it's better than having none. All right, so this is where you can just start, just by having standards, period. And I talk about standards in, let me give you some episodes where I've talked about standards so you have some reference points to start at. Episode 1026, I told you your standard is the best that you can possibly do. Episode 1291, how to raise the standards of a group. Episode 1331, never go over the bar of standards. Episode 1974, this is the one you really should listen to. The standards are the enemy of mediocrity. Episode 2097, standards still matter. And understand, if you're a serious overachiever and you're really ambitious, you should listen to every one of those episodes that I just mentioned. And you can listen to every episode in the history of the show by going to workonyourgamepodcast.com. So do you have standards? Do you have benchmarks and expectations for how much time it will take you to get certain things done, such as the routine things that you do every single day? All right, do you hold yourself accountable for getting things done in a certain time frame? So, for example, I came home today from the gym. It was 7:30 on the dot when I came into the house. And I said, all right, I'm going to get cleaned up, dressed, and ready to work by 8 o'clock. No later. That was and it was a simple time standard that I set for myself. I told myself I'm gonna hold myself accountable to be ready by 8 o'clock. And I was ready by 8 o'clock. Now, had I not set that standard, I could have taken till 8:30 to get ready. I could have taken my time because I didn't have, the first thing I had on my calendar for today was at 9 o'clock. I had a coaching call at 9 o'clock, but I could have taken my time and taken an hour and a half to get ready if I wanted to, but I gave myself the standard of 30 minutes. Now, you could start with something small like that, but I would suggest you go a little bit more robust and actually have some things written down and documented what your standards are for certain things, so you're getting things done, same things the same way every time. So do you hold yourself accountable for getting things done in a certain time frame? Do you hold others accountable for getting things done in a certain time frame? Right? People who work for me know that I'm expecting, if they're doing time-sensitive work or where there's a certain amount that can be done on a daily basis, I say, look, this is how many new leads I want added to the CRM every day. This is how many emails I want sent out on a consistent basis. If it's a time-sensitive thing where we can check boxes and we can count, then these expectations are set. And I expect people to hit these expectations. So one thing that you have to keep in mind as a hint, if you don't have benchmarks for yourself, you damn sure can't have them for other people. I mean, technically you could, but you won't really be able to stand firm on benchmarks that you set for others if you don't have any benchmarks for yourself, because you're out of integrity. Out of integrity means what you are projecting outwardly is incongruent with what you are doing internally. So you can't project something externally that you are not doing internally for an extended period of time, because there's an incongruence between the two. All right, so the way you communicate with others got to be the same way that you communicate with yourself. In other words, I can't hold you accountable to a standard if I'm not also holding myself accountable to that standard, even if you don't know about it. Because I know, looking in the mirror, like there's a disconnect here between what I'm doing and what I'm saying. Everybody get what I'm saying here? So if you don't have standards for yourself, you can't have them for others. One thing that I promise you is that if you ever worked at a job, and those of you who work at a job right now, does that job have benchmarks for you? Oh, I'm sure they do. All right, I have clients who are members of Work on Your Game University who work at full-time jobs, and they tell me about in their jobs, some of them in very demanding positions, some of them in very demanding, also high-paying positions, and making the kind of money that many of you would be really happy to make. Those jobs are very demanding, and those jobs don't give a damn about how much effort and energy and attention and focus it will demand of you to get certain things done in a certain period of time. Even if it appears to be unreasonable, they expect it to be done. And there's a standard there. And there's accountability. You don't get it done, you're going to find out what that accountability is like. And any of you who are in a position like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There are certain standards set for you, and there are benchmarks set for you, and you better hit them if you want to keep that position. So if you've ever had a boss or a company mandate that you need to do something within a certain time frame, and then you had to push yourself, or I should phrase it in terms of a question rather than a statement. So let me say it again. Have you ever had a boss or a company mandate to you that you needed to get something done within a certain time frame, and this mandate that was handed to you forced you to push yourself to work a little bit faster, harder, or longer, or maybe all three, to get it done and actually meet that requirement, because it pushed you to do some things that you otherwise pushed you to do things within a time frame that you would not have given yourself, but it was handed to you and you had to get it done, and then you did it? Of course you have. Any of you who's ever worked at a job, you probably had this happen. At least if you worked at a a career level job. I'm not talking you worked at McDonald's or Jiffy Lube. I'm talking if you worked at a career level job, the kind of job where you would stay there and build a career there, that kind of job. You've been given a task like this where your boss told you, all right, we need these things done and we need it by this time. And you're looking at it like, all right, if I had told myself to do that, I would give myself like twice as much time as they're giving me. But they didn't give a damn how much time you would give yourself. They gave you that much time and you had to get it done. And somehow you found a way to get it done, right? I want you to look in between the lines of that. Read in between the lines of that. What's stopping you from giving yourself that same mandate? I'll answer that question for you. I'll tell you exactly what it is. What it is you have a higher level of respect for their mandates than you have for your own mandates. And that's why you let yourself off the hook when you set the standard, but they don't let you off the hook when they set the standard because they're not willing to negotiate with you on it. You are willing to negotiate with yourself. So if you just change that habit of negotiating with yourself, you will solve this problem immediately. This is a discipline and a structure thing. Why? Because as you can see from your own personal experience, mandates and standards work when they are respected, even feared, if you want to even use that word. Now, you got the work done, right? When you were handed that standard, you got it done, right? Of course you did. You should borrow a page from their book and start doing the same thing to yourself that they did to you. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is Parkinson's law applied to business. Number 2, people. We could talk about people and Parkinson's law from multiple different angles. We just did, as a matter of fact, and using you as the subject. But the angle I want you to take here today is about forcing yourself to expand and grow outside of your comfort zone. We all know the comfort zone is the realm of things that you are used to doing and things that you're comfortable with, right? So how can we apply Parkinson's law to that? It's by helping you appreciate the truth that when you force yourself to expand, usually you expand. Let me say that one again in case anybody didn't catch it. When you force yourself to expand, usually you expand. It's almost like magic. It's like a magic trick. If you give yourself no choice but to live outside of your comfort zone, you will live outside of your comfort zone. If you allow yourself to stay within your comfort zone, you will stay within your comfort zone. Again, this is an extremely simple concept, but it's not easy for many people to apply. This is why it is beneficial for any human being to incorporate help of outside entities to expand yourself. I mean, this is the reason why I just told you not too long ago here on the show, why many people never change. You know why people don't change in life? One of the main reasons people don't change is because the comfort zone is the comfort zone. Episode 2607, I just told you about this. The reason people don't change is because it's too easy to stay where you are. And the only time that you move out of your comfort zone is usually when some outside force forces you to break the inertia of the stagnation that you're in, or even the momentum. Even if you want to call it momentum, you can call it momentum of being in the same place. If you want to change that, you want to break that momentum and do something different, usually you need an outside force to do it. Actually, not usually, you definitely need an outside force to do it. I mean, this is the law of inertia, not a theory. So this is and you can see how all these principles that I talk about here on the show start to connect as I'm giving you these, if you're paying attention. The reason why many people stay in their comfort zone is simply because no outside force forces them to do anything else. So if nothing forces you to do anything else, you're usually going to keep doing the same stuff. And if the same stuff that you've been doing up to this point has not gotten you to where you want to be, then you are in the danger zone and you're going to stay in that danger zone. And the zone is only going to become more and more dangerous the more time goes by, because eventually you run out of time. So you see how this can become an urgent emergency situation if you look at it a certain way. And it should be an urgent emergency situation, and you should look at it that way so you can get urgent about actually creating the success you've been talking about in life rather than continuously talking about it but not doing it. It's a simple concept, again, but not easy for many people to apply. When we're left to our own devices, we run into that law of inertia that keeps us in the same space we've always been in. So based on how you decide to structure things, some of you have actually made a decision to structure things. Many of you have not. You're just doing things randomly, calling it structure, but it's not really structure. These laws can work with each other or they can work against each other. All right, Parkinson's law, the law of inertia, these are laws. Okay, so they can clash or they can work together. Keep in mind that structure is the mother of discipline. So if you want to be more disciplined in making these things work in your favor, then the first thing you got to do is put proper structures in place. I just gave it to you. I just gave you the structure. And some hints on how to get that structure is get around other people who already have the structures or will help you implement a structure, or at least put a structure in place that you then are responsible for implementing so you can actually get things done. I told you how to do that too. Work on your game university. We got 30 days of discipline. We have the work on your game system. We have bulletproof mindset. I'm giving you all these things. I'm pointing you to the water, but I cannot make you drink it. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is Parkinson's law applied to business. Number 3, let's talk about money and budgets. Because if we're in business, I mean, that's the reason we go to work, right? To make money. And usually if you're running a business, you're probably spending some money in the process of running your business, and you have budgets for what you're spending. So when it comes to how you utilize finances, Parkinson's law applies just as well. For example, if you have a $1,000 budget to get a project done, you will usually spend all of that money to get the project done. If instead you had a $100 budget to get a project done for the same project, you would get the same project done with only 10% of the money. Why is this? And how is this? Because human beings, that's you and I, we're usually very good at using what we are aware that we have access to. If we believe all we have access to is $100, we make it happen with $100. We believe we got 1,000, we make it happen with 1,000. Sometimes our lack of awareness causes us to not use everything that we could be using, but the things that we are aware of that we have access to, we usually make the most of them. We make use of those things because they are available to us. When we have less, we usually get more done with less. When we have more, we get the same amount done with more. This is just how it works. And there are some rare exceptional individuals who you give them more, they get more done with the more. You give them less, they get a certain amount done with less, but they get more done when you give them more. Most human beings are not like that. Most human beings are going to get about the same amount done regardless of how much resources they have available to them, especially when it comes to money, because a lot of people like to use money as an excuse for their lack of accomplishment, not a reason to go actually accomplish things. And some of you need to look in the mirror with what I just said. Listen, I hear it every day. I remember I do this for a living, so I know what I'm talking about. So you know that I know what I'm talking about. So it's not that you need to give yourself less resources just so you can experience the feeling of having less, but you could try that and see what happens. There are TV shows and reality shows that are all about that. What if you gave a person $100 and put them in a town where nobody knows them? Let's see what they can figure out, what they can do. Is that you need to apply all of these principles together and force yourself to make the most of whatever resources that are currently available to you. That's the whole point here. Whatever resources you have. So if you feel like, or you believe you don't have money, or you don't know anybody, or you don't have information, or you don't have connections, okay, I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. Okay, let's assume that you're right. All right, that's accepted. So now that's in place. Now we ain't got to talk about that anymore because it's not changing. That's your condition. All right, it's not your opinion, it's your condition. That's your situation. Now here's the question: what you gonna do? All right, you don't have as much money as somebody else has. Okay, now what are you gonna do? And I'm leaving it a space there because I want you to think about that. What are you going to do? If you have 10 times the resources that you had 5 years ago, let's say right now you got 10 times the resources you had 5 years ago, then you should demand of yourself to be producing 10 times the output. Why not? Actually, you should be producing 100 times the output, because with more input, you should be getting a higher amount of ROI. You're investing, and it should be compounding on itself. So you should be producing even more now if you have more resources now than you had in the past. If you're producing the same amount now that you were 5 years ago, and you're making a lot more money now than you were 5 years ago, what the hell is your problem? Now you're doing something that you are doing in your process is something missing. Something is missing. There's a screw loose in your process there. There's not even incongruency. What's the word I'm looking for? There's an inefficiency in your process because you have more resources, but you're producing the same amount. How is that? You should be producing a multiple of your resources. So if you have 10 times the resources, you shouldn't be producing 10 times output. You should be producing 10 times even more of that. All right, any of you who understands compound interest, you understand 10 times does not equal 10 times. It should be more than 10 times, depending on what you're doing with those resources. So you need to be setting these standards for yourself, because why not? I mean, you're here. You might as well be making the most of the opportunity that you have in front of you. And this is what I mean when I say setting standards for yourself. This is what it's about. Telling yourself, this is the demand that I'm putting on myself. And the beautiful thing about human beings, when we put demands on ourselves, usually we live up to them. The challenge for many people is that they simply never put demands on themselves. Is why we live basically down to the expectations of the people around us and to the expectations of the person in the mirror. Point number 1, recapping today's class. Point number 1, we are talking Parkinson's law in business was defined as the notion that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. First point is this: time. This is a simple but not always easy concept that the more time you give yourself to get something done, the longer you will take to actually get it done. It simply works like this. And again, you simply need to start by setting standards for yourself when it comes to how you use your time. They don't have to be these crazy, Army, Navy SEAL like standards. You just have to have some standards. Just set some standards. Just write some things down. Just have some goals. Your goals don't have to be perfect when you write them down. Just have some. Many people don't have any, and this is why they don't achieve anything. Point number 2, when it comes to people, we can talk about people in Parkinson's law from a lot of different angles. The angle I want to set here today is about you forcing yourself to expand and grow outside of your comfort zone. When you force yourself to expand, you will expand. You allow yourself to stay small, you will stay small. It's simply how it works. Again, Parkinson's law is a law. It is not a theory. It is not an opinion. It's not a guess. This is how it works. When you force yourself to expand, you expand. The easiest way to force yourself to expand is to get around other people who are already expanded, and you have no choice but through the law of association, see how these laws connect, to keep up with them or be kicked out of the group. Those are the only options you have. This is why the coaching and consulting industry exists. Number 3, money and budgets. When it comes to how you utilize your finances, Parkinson's law applies. You have a budget of $1,000, you'll use it. You have a budget of $100, you'll use it. You can get the same project done with $1,000 or $100. The difference is you use what is available to you. So sometimes, anytime you find yourself using the excuse that I don't have certain tangible resources, yes, it is an excuse. You don't have tangible resources. That doesn't mean you can't get the same thing done. It's just you are not thinking creatively about how can I get it done with these resources that I have. If you would simply ask yourself that question, not why can't I do this because I don't have the resources. Instead, how can I get it done with the resources that I do have? You'd be surprised at how willing the universe and other people will be to work with you when you show a willingness to be resourceful instead of using your lack of resources as an excuse, which is what a lot of people do. And again, I do this for a living, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. All that said, text me, let me know the best insight you got from today's class. My number is 305-384-6894, and Work on Your Game University. That is where you get to work with me directly. That's where you get coached by me. If you listen to these episodes and I sound like the type of person who can help you get you to where you're going, you already know that I'm a person who helped you get to where you're going. But something that has caused you to hesitate to go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and get started, I don't know what it is, but hopefully something that I said here today will get you over the ledge, get you off the fence, get you from bullshitting and thinking about it and actually doing something. How about you go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and take control of what's happening in your life so we can move you forward as quickly as possible. Work on your game. Dre, all